Join me as I share the enchanting story of Akua, a silent bride who has never spoken a word to anyone, not even her parents, but will she break her silence on her wedding day. In a tiny village in Africa, there was a girl named Akua. She was very pretty, with big shiny eyes and a smile that made everyone happy. But Akua was different. She never talked, not one word. Not to her mom, not to her dad, not even to her best friend. People in the village didn't know why. Some thought she was shy. Others thought she was hiding something big. The village was small, with mud houses and tall green trees. Everyone knew everyone, and they loved to chat. But when Akua walked by, they stopped talking and stared. Her silence was like a mystery they couldn't solve. Was she sad? Was she scared? No one knew. Her smile kept them guessing. Akua liked to help people, carrying water or picking fruit, but she never said a peep. One day, news spread fast. Akua was getting married. Her fiancé, Kofi, was a kind man with a loud laugh. The village buzzed with joy. Kids ran around shouting, "Akua's wedding is coming." But then they whispered, "Will she talk on that day?" Everyone wanted to know. Her silence made them curious, and a little afraid. What if she stayed quiet forever? The wedding was only a week away. The village turned busy. Women cooked big pots of soup. Men built a stage with wood. Kids made flower crowns. Everyone talked about Akua and Kofi. "Kofi loves her so much," said Mama Tola, stirring her pot. "But why doesn't she talk?" asked Little Juma. No one had an answer. At night, people sat by the fire, telling stories. They made up tales about Akua. "Maybe she's a princess who lost her voice," said one boy. "Or maybe she's hiding a secret," said a girl. The more they guessed, the more excited they got. Akua's silence wasn't just strange, it was special. They couldn't wait to see her in her wedding dress. Then, the day got closer. Kofi smiled all the time, but Akua stayed quiet. The village watched her every move. Would Akua's silence be broken on her wedding day? Akua's house was full of noise. Her mom sewed a bright dress with red and yellow cloth. Her dad hummed a song. But Akua sat still, smiling at them. She didn't say a word. Her mom tried asking, "Are you happy, Akua?" No answer. Just a nod and that big smile. It made her family wonder, what was she thinking? Outside, the village kids peeked through the window. "She's so pretty," said Lila. "But so quiet," said Benji. They wanted to know her secret. Some thought she couldn't talk at all. Others hoped she was saving her voice for something amazing. The mystery grew bigger every day. Akua helped her mom sew. Her fingers moved fast, but her lips stayed shut. Her dad watched her and sighed. "I wish I could hear her voice," he said softly. Would the wedding change that? No one knew, and it made their hearts beat fast with hope. The village started betting. "I say she'll talk at the wedding," said Old Man Musa, waving his stick. "No, she'll stay quiet," argued Momaya. They laughed and argued, but deep down, they were nervous. Akua's silence wasn't just fun, it felt important. Like a storm waiting to break. Kofi came to visit Akua. He brought her a flower. "You're my sunshine," he said, grinning. Akua smiled back but said nothing. Kofi didn't mind. He loved her anyway. But the village watched and whispered, "Does Kofi know why she's quiet?" Some thought he did. Others thought even he was in the dark. The wedding was tomorrow. The air felt heavy with questions. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Would Akua's silence be broken on her wedding day? The night before the wedding, Akua couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, looking at the stars. Her heart was full of love, of fear, of something she couldn't name. She wanted to tell Kofi she loved him, but no words came. Why couldn't she talk? Even she didn't know. Her mom came in. "Akua, you're my special girl," she said, hugging her. Akua hugged back, tears in her eyes. Her silence made her mom sad, but she didn't push. "Tomorrow's your big day," she whispered. Akua nodded, but her mind raced. What if everyone laughed at her quietness? The village was quiet now, but tomorrow would be loud. Akua felt the weight of their eyes already. Would she let them down? Her silence felt like a wall she couldn't climb. Morning came fast. The village woke up early. Drums beat loud, and birds sang. Women tied colorful cloth around their heads. Men carried chairs to the town hall. "It's Akua's day," they shouted. But the big question hung in the air: would she talk? Kids ran to Kofi's house. "Are you nervous?" they asked. Kofi laughed. "A little. But I love Akua, quiet or not." The kids giggled and ran off, spreading his words. The village loved Kofi's joy, but they couldn't stop wondering about Akua. Was she hiding something big? By noon, everyone was ready. The town hall looked like a rainbow with flowers everywhere. They waited for Akua. Would Akua's silence be broken on her wedding day? Akua put on her dress. It was bright like the sun. She looked in a mirror and smiled. She felt pretty, but her stomach twisted. Today was huge. Everyone would watch her. What if they didn't like her silence? She took a deep breath and held her mom's hand. Her dad came in. "You're my princess," he said, his voice shaky. Akua hugged him tight. She wanted to say, "I love you," but her mouth wouldn't move. Her silence felt heavier than ever. Would it ruin her day? Her heart pounded loud. She stepped outside. The village cheered. Akua smiled, but her eyes were nervous. The walk to the town hall felt long. What would happen next? The town hall was packed. People stood on their toes to see Akua. "She's here," they yelled. The air smelled like flowers and food. Drums played a happy beat. Kofi waited at the front, his eyes sparkling. He waved at Akua, and she waved back. The villagers whispered. "She's so quiet still," said Lila. "Maybe she'll talk now," said Benji. They couldn't look away. Akua's silence was like a magic spell. Everyone leaned forward, holding their breath. What would she do? The priest started talking. His voice was loud and strong. Akua stood still, her hands shaking a little. Would Akua's silence be broken on her wedding day? Akua reached Kofi. He took her hand, and she felt warm inside. The priest smiled at them. "Today, two hearts become one," he said. Akua looked at Kofi, her eyes full of love. But still, no words came. She squeezed his hand instead. The villagers watched her face. "Say something," they thought. Akua could feel their stares. It made her want to hide. But Kofi's smile kept her strong. She didn't need to talk, he understood her. The ceremony went on. The priest kept talking. Akua's silence grew louder in the room. What would happen next? The sun was high now. The town hall was hot and noisy. Kids giggled, and adults whispered. "She hasn't talked yet," said Mama Tola. "Wait and see," said Old Man Musa. They couldn't stop guessing. Akua's silence was driving them wild. Kofi held Akua's hand tight. He didn't care if she talked or not. But the village did. They wanted a big moment. Something amazing. The priest raised his hands, ready to begin the wedding. Everyone got quiet. This was it. The air felt thick. heart beat fast. Would Akua's silence be broken on her wedding day? The town hall glowed with colors. Red, yellow, and green cloth hung everywhere. The smell of spicy soup filled the air. Akua stood next to Kofi, her dress shining like a star. The villagers clapped and cheered, but their eyes stayed on her. Would she talk today? The priest began the wedding words. "We gather to join Akua and Kofi," he said, his voice booming. Akua looked at Kofi and smiled. Her heart was happy, but her lips stayed closed. She wanted to say something, anything, but her voice hid deep inside. Why wouldn't it come out? Kofi squeezed her hand. "I love you," he whispered. Akua nodded, her eyes wet with tears. The villagers leaned closer. "She's still quiet," whispered little Jumo. The drums stopped. Everyone waited. The big moment was coming. The priest kept talking. "Love is strong," he said. "It doesn't need words." Akua liked that, but the village didn't agree. They wanted her voice. They wanted a surprise. Her silence felt like a locked box, and they were dying to open it. Mama Tola nudged old man Musa. "She'll talk soon, I feel it," she said. Musa shook his head. "She's too quiet." The kids giggled, making bets. "Maybe she'll sing," said Lila. "Or shout," said Benji. Akua heard them and felt shy. What if she couldn't? The priest raised his hands. "Now, Kofi and Akua will be one," he said. The room got silent. Akua's heart beat loud. She looked at Kofi, then at the crowd. Something was building inside her. What was it? Kofi smiled big, his teeth white and bright. Akua loved his smile. It made her feel safe. The priest asked, "Kofi, do you take Akua as your wife?" Kofi said, "Yes," loud and clear. The village cheered. Now it was Akua's turn. The priest turned to her. "Akua, do you take Kofi as your husband?" Silence. Everyone held their breath. Akua opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She nodded instead. The priest smiled, but the villagers frowned. "Why won't she talk?" whispered Momaya. Akua felt their stares. Her hands shook. She wanted to please them, but her voice was stuck. Kofi hugged her. "It's okay," he said. But was it? The tension grew thicker. The priest kept going. "Love is a gift," he said. Akua listened hard. She felt a strange tickle in her throat. Was it her voice? She wasn't sure. The villagers watched her every move. They wanted magic. They wanted something big. Kids started whispering. "She's going to do it," said Lila. "No, she won't," said Benji. The air buzzed with excitement. Akua's mom wiped a tear. Her dad looked proud but worried. They all loved her, but her silence made them nervous. What was she hiding? The priest smiled. "Now, I will join them," he said. The moment was here. Akua felt hot. Her heart raced. Something was coming. She could feel it. The sun shone through the windows. The room felt alive. Akua stood tall, her dress swaying. Kofi held her hand tight. The priest lifted his book. "With these words, you'll be husband and wife," he said. The village got quiet again. Akua's mind spun. She saw her mom's hopeful face. Her dad's kind eyes. The kids' big grins. She wanted to make them happy. But her silence felt like a heavy rock. Could she lift it? She didn't know. Her throat tickled more. Kofi whispered, "You're perfect." Akua smiled, but her heart pounded. The priest was almost done. The big moment was seconds away. What would she do? The priest's voice grew loud. By the power of love, he started. Akua felt the tickle turn into a bubble. It rose up, pushing at her lips. She looked at Kofi, then at the crowd. Their eyes were wide, waiting. Mama Tola clutched her hands. This is it, she hissed. Old man Musa leaned forward. The kids stopped giggling. Even the birds outside went quiet. Akua's silence had them all trapped. They needed something, anything, to happen. The priest paused. I now pronounce you, he said. Akua's bubble burst. She couldn't hold it back. Akua opened her mouth wide. Out came a funny sound, a loud, silly voice. She started acting like old man Musa, waving her arms and making a grumpy face. I'm the elder, listen to me, she said in his voice. The village froze. Then they laughed hard. Kofi's jaw dropped. Akua kept going, hopping around like Musa chasing kids. Tears ran down faces from laughing. She's talking, yelled Lila. No, she's funny, shouted Benji. Akua's silence was gone, replaced by joy. But how? Why now? The priest laughed too. Well, that's new, he said. Akua winked at Kofi. Her heart felt light. But what did this mean? The laughter shook the walls. Mama Tola fell off her chair, giggling. Old man Musa roared, that's me. Kids rolled on the floor. Akua's funny act was better than anyone dreamed. She finished with a big bow, and the clapping was loud like thunder. Kofi grabbed her hands. You're amazing, he said, laughing. Akua smiled, her eyes shining. She didn't talk more, but her act said everything. The village couldn't believe it. The silent bride wasn't silent anymore, at least, not in her heart. The priest wiped his eyes. Your husband and wife, he said. Cheers exploded. But one question stayed. Why had she waited so long? The party started fast. Drums banged, and people danced. Akua and Kofi toured together, smiling big. The village forgot their questions for now. They just wanted to celebrate. Everyone ate and laughed. Kids ran to Akua. Do it again, they begged. She shook her head, smiling. Her silence was back, but it felt different now. Warm. Happy. The village loved her more than ever. She's magic, said Momaya. But was there more to her story? Night fell. Stars twinkled. People sang songs and shared stories. The village buzzed with joy. She's not just quiet, she's funny, said old man Musa, still chuckling. Akua's act had changed everything. Then, a shadow moved. A tall man stepped into the light. His face was strange, old and serious. No one knew him. He stared at Akua, his eyes sharp. The singing stopped. A heart skipped. Who was he? What did he want? The village went quiet. Akua lifted her head. Just as the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Akua suddenly had a new mystery. The tall stranger stood still. His dark cloak flapped in the wind. The village stared, their laughter gone. Akua's heart jumped. She didn't know him, but his eyes felt familiar. Kofi held her hand tighter. Who are you? He asked, his voice loud. The man didn't answer. He pointed at Akua. You, he said, his voice deep like a drum. You made them laugh. The villagers whispered. He saw her act, said Lila. But why is he here? Asked Benji. The night felt cold now, full of secrets. Akua stood up. Her funny moment felt far away. She wanted to ask, who are you? But her silence came back. The stranger smiled a little. You're special, he said, then turned away. What did he mean? The stranger walked off into the dark. The village buzzed again. Who was that? Asked Momatola. He looked scary, said Jumo. Akua sat down, her mind spinning. She'd made everyone laugh, but now she felt small. Kofi hugged her. Don't worry, he said. The party went on. People danced and ate, but their eyes kept darting to Akua. Her funny act was amazing, but the stranger changed things. Maybe he's her family, whispered Momaya. Or a ghost, giggled Lila. Akua heard them and shivered. She looked at the stars. Her laughter had been big, but tears hid inside her. Who was that man? Why did he come now? The night wasn't over yet. Morning came bright. The village woke up talking about Akua. She's so funny, said the kids, hopping around. They tried copying her act, waving sticks like old man Musa. Akua smiled, but her heart was heavy. That stranger's face stuck in her mind. Kofi brought her water. You're a star, he said, grinning. Akua nodded, but she felt lost. She'd broken her silence with laughs, not words. Why couldn't she talk? And why did that man care? She wanted answers, but they hid like shadows. Old man Musa came over. You made me famous, he laughed. Akua giggled, but then she froze. A shadow moved behind a tree. Was it him again? The shadow was just a goat. Akua sighed, relieved. The village kept buzzing. She's our joy now, said Momatola, cooking yam. Silent but loud, said Musa. Akua liked that, but the stranger's words echoed. You're special. What did it mean? Kids pulled her to play. Be funny again, they begged. Akua shook her head, smiling. She wasn't ready. Her laughter had surprised even her. Tears came when she thought of the man. Did he know her secret? Did she have one? Kofi watched her. You're quiet again, he said softly. Akua hugged him. She wanted to tell him everything, but her voice stayed locked. Something big was coming, she could feel it. Days passed. Akua's funny act became a story. People added new parts. She flew like a bird, said Benji. No, she danced like a lion, said Lila. Akua laughed inside, but she stayed quiet. The stranger didn't come back, yet. Kofi built a little house for them. Akua helped, carrying wood. You're strong, he said. She smiled, but her eyes searched the trees. Was the man watching? Her funny moment felt like a key, unlocking something scary. One night, drums played. The village danced. Akua joined, her feet fast. Everyone cheered. She's alive, they shouted. But then, a rustle in the bushes. Was it him? It was just the wind. Akua relaxed, dancing with Kofi. The village loved her now. She's our sunshine, said Momaya. But Akua felt a storm inside. The stranger's visit pulled at her heart. Why did he point at her? Kit sat by her later. Tell us a funny story, they said. Akua shook her head, but her hands moved. She acted out a silly goat chase. They laughed, but tears stung her eyes. She missed talking. She missed knowing who she was. Kofi kissed her forehead. You're enough, he said. Akua smiled, but the mystery grew. Who was she, really? The answer was close. A week later, the village held a big feast. Akua wore flowers in her hair. She danced and made silly faces. The kids screamed with joy. More! More, they yelled. Akua felt happy, but her eyes kept looking around. Where was he? Old man Musa joined her. Let's act together, he said. They pretended to argue, and the village roared. Akua's heart soared. Her silence didn't matter, she spoke with fun. But deep down, she wondered. Was the stranger proud? Then, a shadow moved again. This time, it stayed. The man was back. What now? The stranger stepped closer. The feast stopped. It's him, whispered Juma. Akua froze, her flowers shaking. Kofi stood tall. What do you want? He asked. The man smiled. Her gift, he said, pointing at Akua. Gift, said Mama Tola. Her funny act. The man nodded. It's bigger than you know. Akua's stomach twisted. She didn't understand. Tears filled her eyes. Was he good or bad? The village waited, scared and curious. He looked at Akua. You'll see, he said, then turned away. Her laughter had started something. But what? The night felt heavy again. The stranger was gone. The feast started again, but it was quiet. Akua sat with Kofi, her mind racing. Her gift, the man said. Was it her funny act? Or something more? She wanted to chase him, but her feet wouldn't move. Kids tugged her dress. Dance, they begged. Akua tried, but her heart wasn't in it. The village watched, worried. She's sad, said Lila. No, she's thinking, said Benji. They were right. Akua felt a pull, like a secret waking up. Kofi hugged her. We'll figure it out, he said. But would they? Something big was hiding. Night fell. Akua couldn't sleep. She sat outside, staring at the moon. Her laughter had changed everything. The village loved her, but the stranger's words stuck like glue. Her gift. Tears rolled down her face. She was happy, but scared too. Kofi sat next to her. Talk to me, he said. Akua shook her head. She couldn't, not yet. The man knew something. Maybe about her past. Her silence wasn't just quiet, it was a clue. Then, a voice came from the dark. Akua, it said. It was Old Man Musa. I need to tell you something. His face was serious. But just as the village elders revealed the secret, a shocking truth about Akua's past emerged. Old Man Musa sat by Akua. His eyes were soft but serious. You're special, Akua, he said. Not just funny. Kofi frowned. What do you mean? He asked. Musa took a deep breath. I knew your mom long ago, he told Akua. She was quiet too. Akua's heart skipped. Her mom. She'd never heard this. The village slept, but the air felt alive. She didn't talk much, Musa said. But she laughed big, like you. Akua's eyes got wet. Was her silence from her mom? Musa patted her hand. You're strong, like her. The village loved her now, but this made her feel new. She wasn't alone. Her funny act wasn't just fun, it was family. What else did Musa know? Musa looked at the stars. Your mom had a gift, he said. She made people happy without words. Akua leaned closer. One day, she saved us, Musa went on. A big storm came. She led us to safety, quietly. Kofi's eyes went wide. Akua's like that, he said. Musa nodded. But there's more. He paused, his voice low. She left something behind. The box. It's yours now, Akua. The box. Akua's stomach flipped. What was inside? The night was quiet. Musa stood up. Find it under the big tree tomorrow, he said. Akua wanted to run there now, but her legs shook. Her past was waking up. Morning came fast. The village buzzed about Akua again. She's a hero's girl, said Mama Tola. Kids ran to her. Tell us about your mom, they begged. Akua smiled, but her mind was on the box. She grabbed Kofi's hand. Let's go, she signed. They walked to the big tree. Its branches were white, like arms. The village watched from far away. She's brave, said Lila. And funny, said Benji. Akua dug in the dirt. Her heart pounded. What would she find? Kofi helped. We're a team, he said. Akua nodded, feeling strong. Her silence didn't matter now. She was more than quiet, she was loved. But the box waited. The dirt moved. A small wooden box peeked out. Akua's hands shook as she pulled it free. It was old, with carvings of birds. Kofi wiped it clean. Open it, he said softly. Akua took a big breath. Her mom's secret was inside. She lifted the lid. A necklace sparkled, red beads on a string. A note fell out. For my girl, it said in wobbly writing. Akua's eyes filled with tears. Her mom's voice on paper. Wear it and be happy, it's finished. Kofi hugged her. She's with you, he said. But Musa's words rang. There's more. What else was hidden? Akua put on the necklace. It felt warm, like a hug. The village saw and cheered. It's beautiful, said Mama Ya. Kids danced around her. You're the best, Akua, they shouted. Her funny act and her mom's gift tied them all together. She walked back, head high. People smiled at her now, not just curious, proud. She's our star, said old man Musa, winking. Akua winked back. Her silence wasn't strange anymore. It was power. But the stranger's face flashed in her mind. Did he know about the box? Her heart beat fast again. That night, Akua sat with the note. She traced her mom's words. Be happy, she read again. Her mom had been quiet, strong, and gone too soon. Akua missed her, even if she barely remembered. The necklace glowed in the dark. Kofi slept, but Akua couldn't. Musa said there was more. Was it about the stranger? She tiptoed outside. The big tree stood tall. Something rustled. She froze. Who's there? She wanted to say, but her voice hid. A shadow moved. It was him, the stranger. He held something shiny. What was it? The stranger stepped closer. You found it, he said, nodding at her necklace. Akua clutched it. Who are you? Kofi's voice came from behind. He'd woken up. The man smiled. I knew her mom, he said. The village lights flickered. She saved me once, he went on. In that storm. I promised to watch over you. Akua's eyes went wide. He wasn't scary, he was a friend. Her mom's love reached far. Kofi relaxed. You're welcome here, he said. The man nodded. You're doing great, Akua. Her heart felt big. But there was more to know. The stranger held out the shiny thing, a tiny mirror. This was hers too, he said. Akua took it. Her face looked back, strong and quiet. She saw the word in it, he said. Now you can. Akua's tears fell. Her mom was with her, in the necklace, the mirror, her laugh. The stranger smiled. You're her spark, he said. Keep shining. He turned to leave, but stopped. One last thing, the wind howled. Akua waited. What was he hiding? Her past felt close, pulling her in. The stranger left at dawn. The village woke up happy. Akua showed the mirror to everyone. It's magic, said Benji. It's hers, said Lila. They loved her more now, her silence, her fun, her mom's story. She danced with Kofi under the sun. "You're my hero," he said. Akua grinned. Her necklace sparkled, her mirror shone. She wasn't just the silent bride. She was Akua, strong, funny, loved. But the stranger's last words stuck. One last thing, what did he mean? Her heart raced. Akua sat by the tree, mirror in hand. She saw her mom's face in it, not hers. "Mom," she whispered inside. The wind answered, soft and warm. Then, a voice, "Old Man Musa." "Akua, it's time," he said, holding a book. "It's your mom's," he said. "Her story." Akua opened it. Drawings of storms, laughs, and a baby, her. Her mom wrote it all. But the last page said, "She'll find her voice." Akua gasped. Akua stared at the book. "She'll find her voice," her mom wrote. Her heart jumped. Did that mean she'd talk? She ran to Kofi, showing him. "Look," she signed, eyes big. Kofi read it and grinned. "You're already loud," he said, laughing. The village heard fast. "She might talk," said Lila, clapping. "With funny voices," said Benji. Akua smiled, but she wondered. Her mom's gift, laughing, saving, loving, was hers too. Could words come next? She held the book tight, feeling brave. Kids gathered around. "Be funny again," they begged. Akua nodded. She'd keep her mom's joy alive. But the book's words danced in her mind. Days turned to weeks. Akua and Kofi built a happy home. She wore her mom's necklace and kept the mirror close. The village loved her funny acts. She'd hop like a frog or growl like a lion. Laughter filled the air. Kofi made her a swing. "For my star," he said. Akua swung high, feeling free. Her silence wasn't a wall now, it was a gift. She didn't need words yet. Her heart spoke loud. But the book's promise waited. One night, she dreamed of her mom. "You're enough," she said, smiling. Akua woke up warm. Was that it? Years passed. Akua's funny ways grew big. Kids called her Laughing Akua. She'd act out stories, silly goats, grumpy elders, dancing trees. The village never got tired. "She's our treasure," said Mama Tola, clapping. Kofi helped her. "Your magic," it'd say. Akua winked, her necklace shining. She didn't talk, but her hands and face said everything. The book stayed by her bed. She'll find her voice. When? Her heart tingled, waiting. One day, a baby laughed at her act. Akua's chest felt funny. Something was close. Akua and Kofi had a little girl. They named her Joy. She giggled all the time, just like Akua's mom. The village adored her. "She's like you," said Old Man Musa, chuckling. Akua nodded, her eyes wet. Joy loved the swing. Akua pushed her high, smiling big. Kofi danced nearby. "We're a family," he said. Akua felt full, love, laughs, peace. Her silence didn't matter. She had everything. But the book's words whispered. Her voice, Akua looked at Joy. Was it time? Joy grew fast. At 3, she copied Akua's funny faces. The village laughed. "She's next," said Mama Ya. Akua taught her, waving arms, silly walks. Joy's giggles were loud, but Akua stayed quiet. One day, Joy fell. She cried hard. Akua ran, heart racing. She hugged Joy tight. "You're okay," she wanted to say. Her throat burned. The book's promise pushed her. Could she? Joy looked up. "Mama," she said. Akua's eyes stung. Something broke free inside. That night, Akua sat with Joy. Kofi watched, smiling. Joy babbled, "Mama funny." Akua opened her mouth. A tiny sound came, a soft yes. Joy clapped. Kofi gasped. "Akua," he said, jumping up. She tried again. "Yes," she said, louder. Tears fell. Her voice. It was small, shaky, but hers. Kofi hugged her. "You did it," he shouted. Joy giggled. Akua's heart soared. Her mom was right. The village would hear tomorrow. For now, it was theirs. Morning came. Akua walked out. "Hello," she said, her voice wobbly. The village froze. "She's talking," yelled Benji. Kids ran over. "Say more," they begged. Akua laughed, a sound now, not just a smile. "Okay," she said. She told a funny story. Her voice grew strong. The village cheered. "Laughing Akua speaks," said Musa. Her legacy doubled, funny and loud. She'd found her mom's gift fully. Joy danced. "Mama's best," she said. Akua winked. Her silence was gone. The village threw a party. Drums banged, food steamed. Akua spoke and laughed. "I love you all," she said. Tears flowed, happy ones. Kofi held her hand. "You're my voice," he said. Joy ran around, copying Akua's old acts. The necklace sparkled. The mirror showed Akua's grin. She was whole, quiet past, loud now. Years later, Akua was old. Kids still loved her tales. "Tell the wedding one," they'd say. She'd laugh and talk, her voice clear now. Joy grew up funny too. The village never forgot. "Silent bride turned loud," they'd say, smiling. Akua's laugh echoed far. The legacy lived on, fun, love, strength. The village thrived, full of joy. Akua's wedding night stayed a legend. "She surprised us all," said Musa's son, now elder. At night, they'd gather. Akua would talk, her voice soft but sure. "Laughter's best," she'd say. The villagers looked back on that magical night, remembering the silent bride who brought laughter to their community. Akua smiled at the stars. She'd found her voice and her heart. The story of Akua, the silent bride, teaches us that true strength lies not in our abilities or talents, but in our uniqueness and the love we share with others. Akua's silence was not a weakness, but a part of who she was, and it was her laughter and joy that ultimately brought her community together. The story shows that with patience, self-acceptance, and the support of loved ones, we can overcome our fears and doubts, and find our true voice. Ultimately, Akua's journey reminds us that our differences are what make us special, and that love, laughter, and acceptance can conquer even the greatest of challenges. So, what's your favorite moment from this story? Share it with us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and check out more of our storytelling videos for more tales from Africa and beyond.